My name is Alyosha Rudas, and I'm a program manager at ESA, the International Step-by-Step Association, regional early childhood network for Europe and Central Asia, and together with partners from Educational Research Institute from Slovenia and Open Academy Step-by-Step from Croatia, ESA is today hosting Final Dissemination Event, trying to answer a very tricky question, as you can see it on the screen. Who supports those who support the early childhood teachers? And throughout this session, we'll try to answer to some of your questions that you might have regarding the title of the event, and also showcase resources that we developed under the PIQET project. And if we move to the next slide, Vanessa. So here you can see that today with us, we have Jerneja Jager and Petra Bozovičar from Educational Research Institute from Slovenia. We also have Marina Matešić from Open Academy Step by Step, and myself from ESA. So today we will be talking about the project PIQET that was co-funded by the European Union, and in partnership with two of our members, we onboarded on a 3-year-long journey to address the questions about the quality, how to ensure and sustain the quality of those who are training, mentoring, or coaching the early childhood professionals. And if we go to our next slide. So, and why PIQET? So PIQET is an acronym for Principles of Quality in Education of Teachers. And throughout this event, we will guide you through different resources that were developed that can help those who are acting as continuous professional development educators, or those as acting as a provider, so that can support their work. So, and we have a short statement that I can read it out loud. So why PIQET? So in order to provide child-centered quality and inclusive opportunities for every child to grow and prosper to the best of their abilities and in harmony with their surroundings, we need encouraged and supported professionals. And actually those who support them carry a special kind of responsibility. And especially those supporters were the main focus of our 3-year endeavor. And on the next slide, we also want to define what CPD educators mean. So in this 3-year-long journey, we had many discussions. We reviewed a lot of papers and existing resources related to continuous professional development. And we wanted to come up with an umbrella term for all of those individuals who are involved actively in continuous professional development. So for us in PIQET, we define CPD educators as professionals who are designing, conducting, facilitating, and leading in-service professional development opportunities for early childhood and primary school education professionals. And for us, CPD educators, most often, depending on the country and the context they are coming from, act in the roles of trainers, lecturers, mentors, coaches, learning facilitators or moderators, and many others. And once we established a common understanding, what do we mean by CPD educators, then we also started mapping out the landscape of continuous professional development. And along the way of doing the desk review and research, we also came up with 3 reasons why to invest in CPD educators, meaning the trainers, lecturers, mentors, and coaches. And first of the reasons for us is that CPD, the continuous professional development, plays a crucial role in achieving high quality practice in early childhood. The second reason that we all agree is that high quality continuous professional development depends also on the well-defined goals and competent educators. And the third reason is that from the PIQET point of view, the entire ecosystem in early years benefits from the continuous professional development, and those are children, families, and communities. And on that note, while you will be watching a video shortly that will give you an overview what a transformative journey a PK initiative was and what we developed, and also we will be unpacking each of the resources a bit later so that you will get the most relevant information that can be useful for your work. I also invite you to use the chat, in which you can let us know where you are coming from where you are joining us, and also perhaps let us know what is your role in the continuous professional development. Are you a CPD educator? And if yes, what role of a CPD educator you are carrying? Are you a trainer, a moderator, or are you a CPD provider, an organization that actually provides in-service trainings? While you are populating our chat, let's watch our PK video. Enjoy it.
PIQET commits to elevating the quality of continuous professional development for CPD educators whose expert training, support and mentorship of our early childhood workforce lays the foundation for a high-quality educational ecosystem where every young child and professional can flourish.
CPD educators, such as trainers, mentors, and coaches, play a vital role in maintaining and enhancing the professional competencies of the ECEC workforce.
While we all agree that CPD is essential for improving practice, those who deliver CPD opportunities are often overlooked. PIQET aims to address this gap.
First, we conducted an in-depth analysis to identify the key challenges that CPD educators face, leading us to the development of 9 comprehensive principles.
The PIQET principles provide us with a framework that we can use to improve our support and recruitment of trainers. And not only in skill and knowledge, but also in how they excel in participant-centered and inclusive methods.
Building on these principles, we developed a modular training program based on a pick and mix approach, enabling CPD educators to address their own gaps that they identified using the principles. Through written resources, exercises, and reflection tools, the training program supports CPD educators in enhancing their knowledge, skills, and approaches. Alongside the training, the PIQET handbook offers additional practical tools and actionable guidance to support CPD educators in applying the PIQET principles.
The handbook includes first-hand examples of how CPD educators can use the PIQET tools in nurturing quality practices and professional growth. It not only enables CPD educators to improve their own competencies, the handbook helps them customize the professional development opportunities they provide others, ensuring everyone has the support they need to succeed.
Join us on this transformative journey. Visit our website to access the PIQET handbook and other resources. Enhance your professional development programs and contribute to a brighter future in education for all. By coordinating our efforts, we can ensure that our educational ecosystem thrives.
So, welcome back. So this was now in the nutshell, the 3 years journey. So the rationale, the aim, and all the resources that were developed. But now you won't get rid of us. So you see myself on a screen talking, but I'll also now invite other partners that were talking in the video to unpack a bit more the resources. But before I give the floor to Marina with the first question, I'll just briefly say that our journey started also with the PIQET analysis. So in PIQET analysis, this was our first, let's say, joint effort in which we wanted to map out the existing practices, resources, also map out how in other structures and contexts, continuous professional development opportunities and CPD educators are framed, how they are regulated, what kind of support they are getting. But along the same lines, we also conducted an in-depth analysis based on the 22 organizations, members of ESA, that act as providers of CPD opportunities, as in-service trainings in their respective countries, to get feedback from their end and to map out what are the pressing needs in the field, what trainers, mentors, facilitators need, and how they are ensuring the quality of their practice. And this was somehow for us like the foundation on which we started to build the resources. And then the first resource that was built on the PIQET analysis was were the PIQET principles. And now I'll invite Marina and ask her if she can guide us a little bit through the PIQET principles and tell us more about the structure and how they are organized.
Thank you. I'm looking at this timeline and I'm thinking within the PIQET project, we have a feeling that we spend almost 2 years in mapping and researching, and then in the last year actually developing all of the resources. And this document that Alyosha mentioned that was done before everything else was very valuable and eye-opener for really mapping on a European or even broader level within ESA network of, I think, 40 or so members who are actually engaged in CPD as CPD providers, and to see what really is out there in terms of quality CPD events. And then we also did 2 rounds of surveys where we asked the practitioners in CPD events within the network of ESA, but also outside in our own 2 countries that were participating. And with these surveys, we try to get more, meat on the bone to see what is actually what are the needs of the CPD educators themselves and of the CPD providers. What do they see as quality work of their trainers and their educators, and also what they need in terms of support in becoming better. So what we here call CPD of CPD educators. And once we put all those, ideas and information about different aspects of quality CPD educators' work, we came up with the 9 principles you just saw in the video that were aiming to cover all different kinds of events of CPD process. So it can be from lectures to mentoring to classical training programs that most of us have, but also study visits and so on. So the idea was to cover all different types of CPD events, all different types of CPD facilitators, educators, and also to resonate or to come out of the value system that we all somehow share within ESA network, which is quality pedagogy and inclusiveness. So these were 2 guiding principles, I would say, that are somehow present in all 9 individual principles. So besides being an expert in the field, what we thought was very important for any CPD educator to have, to know, or to be able to do, or to hold as values and exhibits in their behavior, is not only to be an expert in the field, but also to be able to plan and implement a CPD event in a participant-centered way. So this was also one of the guiding rules for us, to have all the aspects in the PIQET principles kind of abiding to the participant-centered approach. Also to be inclusive of diversity in the group, be it cultural, social, or individual learning differences, to use the methods that are participatory, transformative, democratic, and responsive or accordingly to the needs of the participants. And in the end, to provide support that is tailor-made, so something that is individually appropriate for every learner, so that they can basically have a transformative event within each of the CPD opportunities that they enroll. Finally, we also believe that CPD educators is something we should never forget, and especially we as CPD providers should take care of our trainers in a way that we support them in this, that we provide these CPD opportunities for them. So the 9 principles are basically structured in a way, when you download the document, you will see that we first wanted to provide a kind of a shared definition of quality under each principle. This is a very short statement. Then we came up with a list of indicators that actually help us see in practice what this principle means. And it can also help us self-assess if we are doing a self-assessment based on PIQET principles. And reflective questions that can guide us through a process of our own, let's say, self-improvement or professional development in each of these principles. We also provide, you cannot see here in the slide, but we also try to provide illustrative examples. And here we asked you as well to fill us in with your examples and from your experiences, what it is to be a quality CPD educator in each of these aspects. So we kind of put that all in one big pile and structured it a little bit for you. I think that's, yeah. For those who want to see more, you can download the document and we can go through that later.
Exactly. Thank you, Marina. And also perhaps what we can mention here that, yeah, you can hear those words that are popping up throughout our conversation today. It's like transform and so on. And it was the process was very participatory. So when we drafted for the first time the principles, we had a consultation meeting, a session with our members in Opatija last year, just to validate, are we on the right track? We also were gathering input and feedback throughout the process. But also now when we developed the PIQET principles and we provided indicators and reflective questions and later with the support, then the journey doesn't stop here. So, okay, so now as a professional, let me be a mentor. I want, to follow those principles and I want to improve and self-reflect. Okay, so when I identify gaps, so what comes next? What do I do with those gaps? And Marina, as your organization was leading then the process of developing the third resource, which was looking more into framing the content of those identified gaps. Can you tell us a bit more also about the training module that we developed based on the principles? And next slide.
So although I think in the design of the project at the beginning, we were not planning to make such a huge training module, but just some bits and pieces that would fill in the gaps between, you know, what our CPD educators expressed as something that they lack or they need, like ICT skills or so on. But actually we ended up creating I would say a serious training module for more days than we had chance to practice to implement in this project. And how we approached this, how we did it, was that we took PIQET principles in a way as competencies. So as I said, something that we as CPD educators should be able to do, know, also hold as our values or express as our behavior. And then from there, we were thinking what we need to actually, so what kind of learning outcomes we need for achieving such competencies. And we came up with a lot of different learning outcomes. It would be probably a process that could last for longer than we had. But it did help us pile up those learning outcomes into certain building blocks. We call them building blocks. You can call them any kind of other name. Those 4 building blocks were foundational knowledge, know-how, foundational know-how. So basically, these are basic pedagogical knowledges and skills for working with adults in a participant-centered approach with participatory methods and transformative outlook of our activities and so on. We also included here embracing diversity as foundational know-how, because we find this to be very important from the beginning of the conversation on how we train to become high-quality CPD educators. Then our second building block was interactive strategies of teaching and learning. So here we had all kinds of very practical lessons offered in the training module that anybody can use in any training or other CPD event. How to be more interactive, more participatory, a better listener, and so on. Then we had responsive adaptation, which we basically, here we had a lot of different lessons and processes of training that help us be better mentors, like you said, coaches, those who support and encourage based on individual needs of participants. And this can be used in almost every CPD event, especially in mentoring. And finally, the last building block for us was lifelong learning and self-care. Again, as I said earlier, this was something that we cannot go without it, but also we need to pay attention to it and support our trainers and ourselves in this in a more serious way than just saying it's necessary to do. So this came out to be a training module of, I don't know, more than 200 pages. I hope that those of you who will use it in the future will find it useful, effective, even if it is just some bits and pieces of it.
And now, thank you, Marina, for this insight. We will go to Slovenia, to Jerneja, to actually understand a bit better how the pilot of this training module actually looked like in Slovenia, how you structured it, at your national training for your CPD educators.
Yes, first, maybe I need to mention that also in Croatia, there was a pilot of PIQET training, and the process of structuring the training was quite similar in both countries. Because we both did we asked participants to self-assess how well are they already implementing PIQET principles in their practice, and then based on the results of that self-assessment, we designed the training. Well, and then the differences begin, because in Croatia there were other gaps and in Slovenia another. So now I will focus on our pilot in Slovenia. We developed the training for 2 kinds of CPD educators, for trainers and for leaders or facilitators of professional learning communities. Both groups of those CPD educators implement CPD events within the step-by-step network of kindergartens and primary school that is coordinated by our center. As I mentioned, first, all the invited participants were asked to self-assess. They used also the specially developed tool for self-assessment. This tool was developed within our work, and that tool will be also accessible on the website of PIQET, among other resources. So anyone interested in PIQET principles can do that self-assessment and then plan her transformative pathway based on that results. Yeah, so based on the self-assessment, it turned out that participants, our participants in Slovenia, lacked knowledge primarily in those 4 areas that you see on your screens. In the area of participant-centered approach, participatory approach and democratic values, then diversity, inclusion and bias recognition, change-oriented learning and transformational practices, and professional development and self-care. And those are all the themes from the PIQET training program. So we took this as a base on which we then plan our training. In designing the training, we selected content and activities proposed in the PIQET training program that was introduced previously by Marina. And since the PIQET training program is based on the pick and mix approach, we were able to fully tailor the training to the needs and prior knowledge of the participants. And so within the training, we used interactive activities, self-reflection, transformative learning exercises. Therefore, participants were, as also they said, they were really empowered to implement inclusive, participatory, and transformational approaches in their future work. So this tailored approach ensured the training was relevant, engaging, and also effective in supporting and empowering CPD educators for their work.
And now, Irenea, you already mentioned it in between the lines talking, but like in general, how those CPD educators actually reacted to the content itself, since this is not the usual training that they attend.
Yeah, participants found the content really interesting and useful. And most importantly, it addressed their needs as they give us as a feedback. They were particularly impacted by the section on prejudices and stereotypes and how these are unconsciously developed and difficult to overcome. And also Meziro's transformative learning theory was mentioned as very practical and valuable for their work. And in their future delivery of seminars or facilitation of professional learning communities, they plan to place even greater emphasis on identifying participants' needs and expectations and actively addressing them during training sessions. So really identifying needs and gaps, this was really what popped out as very important insight they got. Maybe they forgot to really assess what is the prior knowledge of the participants. So they really valued this insight of the training, and also how their prejudices and stereotypes can influence also the content they are delivering to others. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Irenea. So I had this additional question about the feedback, but I think you actually covered all of it. Or is there anything left that you forgot to mention?
Yeah, I would mention only this. I think this is really important. They said that they really that they miss such kind of opportunities. The CPD events that are focused on them as CPD educators. Because really as a title of our event, who are the ones who support ECEC educators, right? So those are CPD educators, and often we forgot we forgot them. So the event was really perceived as very valuable for them, for their professional development as CPD educators. So maybe this is something I would really like to stress, and this is important, I think.
No, and it's a very valuable piece of information also for us to understand the context better, because usually many of us here present on the call act in different forms, be that sometimes as trainers or facilitators. And usually when we are engaged in some new continuous professional development for ourselves, it's most of the time it's focused on the content itself, or on the new tools and approaches, let's say, in terms of promoting be that strategic thinking or developing leadership skills, etc. But those basics, like fundamental principles, like, you know, what actually participant-centered approach means, which is just translated approach from the child-centered approach, you know, so that we really see each of the individuals sitting in our room or around the table as equal contributors and contributors of their and creators of their own learning. And I think with this one, we really wanted to bring to the forefront those core skills that are needed in terms of, you know, seeing each individual in the room, tailoring the content to the needs, taking into account the background and prior knowledge, so that we do design and deliver higher quality, but also more relevant CPD opportunities and events. But now unpacking a bit more, going from the pilots of the training and the training module itself. So there is a fourth output, let's say, or a project result, which is a PIQET handbook. And this is on the timeline. You could see that the handbook is the last station of our journey. But it's good to mention that this journey, it's not the end, but it's like an ongoing process. So basically, PIQET never ends. So you just go in circle, but not in circle without knowing anything or getting any information. But actually, it's a cyclic approach and a process that actually supports you to nurture your quality and your competencies. And here I'll invite Petra from Educational Research Institute to tell us a bit more about those transformative pathways that we were mentioning so much today. Can you tell us more about the hand?
Sure. Alyosha, thank you. As it was already said, we perceive professional growth as a self-improvement cycle, which is a continuous and dynamic process. And this cycle consists of several interconnected components, as it is outlined in the slideshow. And in the PIQET handbook, we have described this process as a transformative pathway, which we see as an open and flexible framework designed for CPD educators across different roles, so whether as trainers, coaches, mentors, or facilitators. While the specifics of each transformative journey may vary depending on the educator's context and needs, the pathway offers guiding principles and adaptable tools for everyone committed to reflecting on their practice and improving it. So the journey begins with learning about the PIQET principles, which serve as a reflective tool for self-assessing competencies and identifying areas for growth. And based on these reflections, educators can deepen their understanding of targeted teams and enhance their knowledge through resources such as a PIQET training program. And then another vital element of the learning process is also collaboration. And by building a shared understanding of what quality CPD looks like, whether through professional learning communities or other group reflection approaches, educators can align their efforts and strengthen their collective practice. An important step in this pathway is also the development of a transformative pathway plan. This is a structured framework for planning actionable changes and defining steps for improvement. And this plan guides CPD educators in transforming their practice and also serves as a foundation for iterative progress. And once the plan is implemented, educators are encouraged to return to self-reflection and review their performance, reflecting on what went well, the challenges they faced, and what can be improved. In this cyclical process, reflection, action, and growth continuously intertwine, ensuring that the development process is always adaptable and improving. Given the lack of widespread understanding about the importance of investing in the professional development of CPD educators, those who embrace this transformative process are encouraged to become agents of change. So by sharing their journeys and outcomes, they can inspire peers and attract greater attention from policymakers to this critical area of professional development. And if we return to the contents of the PIQET handbook, it not only offers a detailed description of this transformative pathway, but also includes practical examples for self-reflection, peer and group support, and also training and induction programs for CPD educators. And these examples serve to guide CPD educators in understanding this cycle and navigating through different components, providing them with concrete ideas and approaches that can be adapted to their unique contexts and needs.
Great. Thank you, Petra, for giving us this overview. But I do have one question, because at the beginning we in a way mentioned it, but the information might get lost along our discussion. But who else besides CPD educators, teachers, trainers, mentors, coaches, facilitators, who else is invited to use this transformative pathway?
So yeah, the PIQET handbook is designed to support the professional development of CPD educators, as I already described, whether during their initial training or through in-service development programs, but it also serves as a valuable tool for CPD providers, offering guidance on how to support CPD educators' professional growth effectively. And they can also use it in recruitment and selection processes to ensure quality standards. And furthermore, the PIQET handbook provides a resource to advocate for a high quality CPD for CPD educators, and can be beneficial for CPD providers, educational coordinators, and other stakeholders looking to establish or strengthen internal quality assurance policies.
Great. So it's not only for CPD educators per se, but it can also inform those providing the CPD events, be that NGOs or national agencies, also supporting them in recruiting and selecting the future trainers, mentors, or coaches or facilitators. But also for the initial training, it's a quite valuable resource to look at in ensuring quality. And this is always, you know, during our discussions, we always had this this kind of reflections that in the past 100 years, so many things have changed. And so the technology, the artificial intelligence, the car industry and everything. So everything went ahead. But the little progress in, let's say, in the way how we approach education is something that didn't change that much in the past 100 years. So that's why this is also a valuable resource for us to address those different needs and different approaches to learning, to self-studying, to studying in group, and as well as, you know, raising our voices. So no matter if we are in a role of a trainer or a CPD provider, a director of an NGO that believes in continuous professional development, there is, as you, Petra, mentioned, there is still lack of prioritization. So it's very much neglected field in many contexts. Not much funding goes into continuous professional development. And while we've been doing the review in our in our initial endeavor in the analysis, so we only saw this, that in few countries is regulated by a law that continuous professional development is recognized as a vital tool or vital process to maintain the quality and personal and professional development and growth, while in others this is still something that it's like by our own choice. And that's why also being advocates for quality of continuous professional development, also of those who are providing it, it's so crucial. So we are left with sort of like 12-13 minutes, I would say. And we are very talkative group of people. But now we would also like to hear from all of you who are with us. If you scan the QR code, or if colleagues will be able to share the link to the QR code, perhaps I can also share it. I'll just share my screen now for a moment, if that's okay. So let me first share the voting link in the chat so that you can go directly to the link, and we'll be asking you a question. What changes would you like to see in the continuous professional development programs in your context? So what are some changes or needs that you would like to see that are either prioritized or taken into account? And I'll just share my screen so that we all see what we are talking about. Here we are. So okay, so what you would like to see in your own context, what that change would be. So we have one response: start focusing on quality of CPD events. You can also use the chat, but you can also feel free to unmute yourself, and if you perhaps don't have the opportunity to type, national standards for CPD events, greater financial support for practitioners to attend CPD events, recognition of the importance of CPD trainers. Yeah. This recognition actually plays also a very important role, so that we also as a system recognize the importance. More time, like child-free hours for CPD in general, but also to prepare and follow up CPD for the CPD educators. And more time and opportunities for CPD educators. Yeah, true. So that it doesn't become, you know, like we are taking it for granted that once a trainer is hired, the trainer with all their charm and knowledge stays there unnoticed with the needs for continuous professional development. Yeah, needs-based program for CPD educators, quality standard for CPD events. Great. Monitoring the quality of CPD events. well-being of CPD providers, exactly. And actually, if you will have time later to go into our resources that are available on the initiative's website, some of them will be uploaded soon because they are in the last stage of being finalized and laid out so that they will look also visually appealing and user-friendly. There you will also see that in the training program, we do dedicate a section on the well-being, which is a self-care, which can also be from the organizational perspective translated in how I, as a CPD provider, can ensure that my coaches, mentors, trainers, or facilitators can be in balance, can have space for a self or for a collective care, opportunities to learn and grow, and clear expectation for CPD educators that promote excellence in the CPD. Great, so I'll keep this slide alive so you still type, and we will make it later also available. But since we are left short of with a little bit time, and we do still have a few important information to share with you, so I'll now invite Yernea to, I already mentioned, but Yernea will encourage you.
Yeah, so if you scan this QR code, it will lead you to the web page of PIQET, where you can find description, what did we aim for. And on this website, you will also find analysis and PIQET principles. Those documents are already published. Training program and the handbook will be published very soon. And also some other resources will be added, such as self-assessment tool, as I said before, and other colleagues. So yeah, go through the website and check what we have developed, what we will develop, and to make sure that you will be notified when we will upload the final results. Please make sure that you register for the ESA newsletter, and when all the resources will be available, you will be first to get to know that the resources are there, and you will be kindly invited to explore more and to use it for your contexts.
And beside this invitation, we also have another invitation for you. But before that, let me just also add additional piece of information. So why actually we, in a way, wanted to be part of this transformative journey and focus on the quality. You all know that quality is at heart of ESA, and it's part of our DNA and our legacy. And the same is also the child-centered approach, as well as participant-centered approach. And back in years, there already been in place standards for trainers who were working as trainers on step-by-step methodology. And as this resource was never really published publicly, we wanted to bring it to life with a new lens, with a new perspective that goes beyond trainers only. And that's why we are so proud that we managed to build on a very rich and solid legacy, and to transform all the tools into something that can be very useful for all of us being engaged in the CPD as such. And now the final invitation from Marina, I think, will make the circle full.
Well, as you said, the ESA already had principles for its trainers some 20 or so years ago. And these were inspiration for us to continue this work. But also the fact that there are not many countries or networks that have principles of quality for their trainers. This is something very important, and we should, I think, continue this work. So we as ESA members, but also organizations, CPD organizations in our own countries, we are keen and looking forward to continue working on this. This can be actually a way how to cooperate more intensively between ourselves in the network, in ESA network, but also other networks. Because if we have this shared understanding of the quality CPD, it will be a link of trust that can incentivize many of our future projects, collaborations of different kinds, exchanges, study visits, and so on. So I would invite all members of ESA and also ESA Secretariat to support further this initiative and somehow invest in us as CPD members of the network.
Well, thank you, Marina. Thank you, Ernea. Thank you, Petra. And thanks also goes to all of the others who also contributed to this initiative, and also to Bojana and Ivana and Emily and Jan and Vanessa and all of you who really contributed to this initiative so that not represented and that it's also very much aligned with what we believe in, and this is a high quality standard on all levels of implementation. Thank you all, and let's keep in touch.